So I'm trying to better exist in my natural energy. That's a lot of like the opportunity of like having this apartment is. And one of the things that I'm realizing I need to like probably sit with is like how much I would do things just out of pure spite. And it's like as a survival mechanism, yeah, I would oh I broke it. I'd rather take spite over death, right? But like now that I'm in a place of peace, there's certain workings that like I have to reverse, and I kind of mentioned some of them that I was undoing. Um, but like one that like really comes to mind is that like when people would send me certain work, I would like have the intention reversed. So I think part of the reason why I was so like it's because people were sending me shut up spells. I was like, oh, you want me to shut up? Oh, you want me to shut up? And it was like, and I could just tell based off the timing of it, right? And this is not to preclude the third dimensional happenings of things. I say this all the time, and I think it's kind of like it seems like antithetical to like non magic people, but uh, the only way that like things that can manifest in the magical ether can be recognized is like when they're in the third dimension. So there's like no differentiation for me, right? But I think how I'm gonna like start to shift that into more peace is that like there's something about spite as a mechanism that still centers the person who's doing you harm, right? And to over expend energy into something that someone doesn't want me to expend energy into just because they don't want me to expend energy into it or whatever the fuck is a decentering of my own agency. And I like sometimes it just takes a minute for me to like come back to center. I've been through a lot of shit, and that's after like my mental illness. I had a brain injury, so I'm like predisposed to a level of um well that sometimes it takes me a minute to like kind of come back to center. And it's something that I'm kind of like realizing that in the past a lot of my behaviors were dismissed because people didn't take me seriously. And now I think what I'm like kind of coming into the understanding of is that not only do people take me so seriously, um, it's to the point where there's like genuine fear around me. And so I really have to kind of like um, meet that responsibility of like doing the work to like show up how I think it's important to show up, and like trying to find a balance in between, kind of like sharing what that dysregulation looks like to kind of like help other people who are going through similar journeys and feeling isolated without like sacrificing my sovereignty. But then I also realize it's not really a sacrifice of sovereignty. It's like it really comes down to safety. But I've also come to the realization that like, there are certain things I can do that can like fuck up my whole steez, right? I have to be careful not to get into yapping about that, which is like part of the reason why I know that spell working in particular needs to be undone, because I need a greater sense of control over that. But there's also this energy of like even showing up in these moments where, shit is hard. And it feels very embarrassing to say, that like my situationship is situation shipping and that's why I'm like crashing out on my TikTok. But that's the truth, bitch. You know, it's 2026. It happens to the best of us. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But I mean, it's influencing my behavior, dude. It'd be so weird if I wasn't going crazy, you know, to a degree. And I think that degree is the important thing. It's just really like settling on, you know, what energetic space feels good for me to be in, and like really solidifying my personal resonance and existing in that space regardless of external circumstance, um as opposed of just like turning into like an evil mockingbird or whatever the fuck, because that's a trauma response and it's not necessary. And I've been there, done that enough to know that it is not necessary, and it's a little bit too much, and so I hid some of that shit. But it's also one of those things that I just do that shit, bro. Like the thing about healing is not linear. In fact, it's quite cyclical. So it's really, I think for me just like coming on here after I do some reckless shit, just to let you know that it was reckless, so you know that I know that we know some of that shit was a little bit whoa. And then there's also a degree of like there's a level of like recklessness and intentional um inauthenticity that I had to put forward in order to get to where I am right now. So there's a part of me that does not want to apologize for that shit because bitch, I made it. There's a lot further to go, right? And I'm just kind of like grateful that I'm like finding myself in a position where I can have a little bit more agency about how I show up. And I think the way I'm going to, you know, really show up in a sense of like power is by acknowledging that I did not have that power before, and finding opportunities to engage that power um, now that I do. Um, and it's just gonna feel weird, but I like it when it feels weird. So we'll be at it. You know what I'm saying?